Good morning and welcome to Today in L.A. I'm Mike Amos. He's Bill Rice Jr. And it is it's the 18th or 19th day of November. On down the road, not this week, but next
Reminds
week.
me of a great Steely Dan song called Hey 19.
They're going to wring that turkey's neck, and I hate to say that, but that's the truth, though. A lot of country folks still wring chickens' necks, you know. Have you ever wrung a chicken's neck?
Gosh, no.
Are you serious?
I would be.
Wait a minute, what kind of country boy are you?
If we had an apocalypse, where everybody had to fend for themselves, I'd be in so much trouble. I don't think I've even cleaned a fish. I've definitely not wrung a chicken's neck. Yeah, I would be dependent on people that actually know how to do things.
Okay, get ready for the kickoff. The Auburn Tigers kick off this weekend with the Sanford Bulldogs from Birmingham. It's Auburn and Sanford. The Bulldogs head into Jordan-Hare Stadium looking to revenge a few losses on down the road. But Auburn is ready to kick off against Sanford. Alabama will be kicking off against powerful Western Carolina. Yeah. Two tremendous football games leading up to the Iron Bowl.
I wonder how many people will be at both of them.
The Iron Bowl, and because we've got to be nice to everybody, ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Al. And can Big Al string up a tune? Yes, sir, he can. It's Big Al and Albie. And they're getting ready.
To see each other.
They're getting ready. War Eagle. And here comes Big Al. A turkey and a tiger. An elephant and a tiger getting ready for a big weekend of college football leading up to the big show, and that is Alabama and Auburn. And all your life, Bill Rice Jr., you've had to put up with that. Is that right?
You know, that's right. I have seen or listened to every one of them. One of the most famous was the Bama punt game in 1972. I was 7 years old in Opelika, Alabama, in Lee County. And that game was not on TV. Can you believe it?
What? No way.
I listened to it on the radio. I have a distinctive memory of listening to it on the radio. But that's back when there was just one game a week on TV, I think.
That's right. That's right.
But you still would have thought
that. You know what? It killed dove hunting. You'll remember so many times I've been out in a dove field listening to Alabama football with John Forney. Thank you, Doug Layton, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and across the Southland as the Crimson Tide of Alabama on this Saturday in November when they're getting ready to do battle with the Auburn Tigers.
You made an astute point there. Hunting numbers are down, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't even see a dove anymore.
There's probably a lot of reasons for that, but you might have nailed one of them is, people used to listen to ball games on Saturday to dove shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're going to stay at home and not watch one game. You got about 30 games you can watch.
Well, I can remember so well sitting there on top of my can, and I always carried a big can out there with me with my shells in it, and I'd sit back and I'd be eating raw peanuts, waiting for the dove to come in, and listening to an Alabama football game on the radio. I can remember.
Now you watch them on the phone.
Yeah, that's right. Watch them on the phone. Exactly.
Stephen Camp, he's formerly Steve, but we call him Stephen now. He made a good point, and now you could be in a dove field with your little phone watching the game.
Yeah,
so never mind. Forget that point.
Brought to you by Little Caesars Pizza. The best deal in town by far is the large pizza you get hot and ready from Little Caesars. $5.39, I believe it's called.
You can't beat
and that is a meal for your whole family.
I don't know if you can beat that with the frozen pizza in the grocery store.
No, I don't believe you can. And, of course, they've come out now with the extra meat, which is just $6. You know, giving you extra meat on your pizza.
Yeah.
So it is an excellent pizza, and we appreciate it.
We picked one up the other night. So Good job, Little
Of course,
Caesars.
Bill Rice was born and raised an Alabama fan, and I don't believe anybody can help it whenever you're sort of biased in what you say. Is that right?
Yeah, it's in my blood, as they say. My dad played football at Alabama, but I went to Alabama. I didn't graduate at Alabama. I graduated from Troy. But my older brother graduated from Alabama. My uncle Bobby graduated from Alabama. My grandfather Bob Rice went to Alabama. Yeah. But I don't have this distaste for Auburn that a lot of people seem to have. I look at it like those players could have just as easily gone to Alabama. They're playing their hardest. They seem to always conduct themselves with class, and I don't pull against Auburn, but I just pull for Alabama.
Man, I can't believe you don't pull against them. Mike, do you have a distaste for Auburn?
Well, I mean, I definitely, it's one of those situations. I have a hard time for several weeks getting over if Alabama loses to Auburn. I mean, I don't listen to sports talk radio, and I have to do a show every morning, so I have to talk about it a little bit. But there's been many times Alabama's lost to Auburn, and I hadn't, watched TV or read a newspaper.
Well, did you listen?
I'm the same way, Michael. I bet a lot of people are.
Did I overhear you say Auburn or Auburn?
Auburn or Auburn? I don't know. Maybe I said Auburn. I'm not sure.
Y'all remember when Kirby Smart?
I spent a lot of fun nights in Auburn. My twin sister went to school there, and I had a lot of friends up there over the years. So I mean, it's a great place.
Your daddy spent a lot of money up there. I guarantee you that.
I thought your daughter was on scholarship. I thought she was real smart.
Never. Auburn didn't give scholarships. She had scholarships at Alabama, didn't take them. She went to Auburn. I like that.
Coach Cross got his first victory last night.
Yeah, I saw somebody that was not against a very good team. And Troy's got a big man that Mike, that I heard him say he is borderline NBA. Talking about the big 6'9" kid.
Yeah, the kid out of Parker, Montgomery, Williams.
He got 11 rebounds last night. The other night he got 28 points against Indiana.
Yeah, that's something.
I'm wondering what's going on. They're not playing the Williams kid from Brubaker Tech in Montgomery that was supposed to be the star point guard. Why is he not playing?
I'm wondering if he's even there.
No, he's there. He just hasn't played all year.
Well, they played the kid from Turkey most all the game last night. He played hard. The kid played hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's all Coach Cross wants is guys that are, going to play hard for, 40 minutes. And I saw where Shelley Tuck's son, got in a little bit late.
He did. He sure did.
I don't think he made any.
No, Shirley Tuck's got a son that's playing.
That's right, and I think he's a walk-on at Troy. I'll tell you what, the shots he made were right on the money. They just hit the back of the rim. Usually, if you hit the back of the rim, you're close.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Official all those years?
You boys don't understand it. I had a goal in my backyard and didn't have a net. But you know what? I could always tell when it went through.
Yeah.
You
need that net.
That's right, but I didn't have the net wore out.
We always had, Daddy, we always had a basketball goal at every house we lived in, and boy, I wonder how many hours I spent shooting hoops on that goal.
And you're going up against your brothers. Now your daddy was 6'5". Did he ever shoot basketball with you?
Maybe for about 7 minutes in his life. He probably threw the football with me for about 7 minutes of his life. He wasn't I guess he went to a couple Little League baseball games, but he wasn't one of those daddies that was super involved.
And he didn't play basketball in high school either, to my knowledge.
No, isn't that funny? Basketball is probably my favorite sport. And I played it I was on the junior high team and, was pretty good. But when I got to high school, I made the decision I'm going to be a football player. I don't know why. And I kind of gave up focusing on baseball and basketball. Yeah. But I'll tell you one thing about basketball. I bet I have sprained my ankles about 8 times playing basketball, some of them really bad.
Yeah.
So I could relate to Tua when he went through these bad ankle sprains.
Mike, give us a rundown on Tua.
Well, I mean, from what they said, they had, successful surgery in Houston yesterday and was going to come out to Tuscaloosa and start recovering. If you listen to Coach Saban's press conference yesterday, he was emotional and
He was?
he mentioned Tua as one of the 4 or 5 guys that he truly loved as a coach.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Did everything the right way and, never had any issues on and off the field and just what a true leader he is and what a amazing person he was. He said he called Tua 2 straight nights in a row in the hospital room to cheer him up. And Saban said by the end of the conversation that Tua had cheered him up.
Yeah.
So, you're kind of seeing a side of Coach Saban that a lot of people don't really see. But, this has to be devastating for him. It's one of those type things that this guy had an opportunity to be the first pick in the draft, and we're talking about probably $30 million. So, if he still goes to the draft next year, I think he'll go in the first round, but I don't think he'll be until probably into the 20s maybe now.
Surely he had insurance. Wouldn't you think he had insurance?
I don't know. That hadn't been brought up.
Because if he had gotten hurt, he could have,
like Lattimore or some of these other
this might have ended his career,
I was listening to Feinbaum late yesterday afternoon, and one of his last callers made a good point, convincing point. He said that Tua will probably still go in the middle of the first round. He said because teams aren't going to want to say teams that can get a generational quarterback are going to take a risk even if they let him sit out that first year and rehab some more.
Yeah.
And then he also made a good point that I think I made it here first yesterday. He said Tua, if he's worried that he's going to drop out of the first round or late in the first round, he has the option of not going in this year's draft, not coming back and playing for Alabama, but just being a student, being a GA, rehabbing, then going through the 2021 draft in the combine and showing everybody that he's 100%. And by that time, he probably would once again be a top 3 pick and be able to get that $30 million money that Michael talked about.
I hope so. Okay, we've got...
Caleb Barker was Sunbelt Offensive Player of the Week this week with his 6 touchdown performance, 3 for 363 yards.
Is that for the nation? Or the conference?
Sunbelt.
Sunbelt. He now has 30 touchdowns on the season, only one behind Corey Robinson's 31 touchdowns, but the leader all time in touchdowns in the season is Sim Bird's 41 in 1968.
And I remember that so well.
And he did that in how many games?
Well, I'll tell you, they played 9 games. They played 9 games.
3 playoff games?
Yeah, for the season, though, in the playoffs and everything, they played 12.
Yeah, they played, they played 2 in the playoffs. And
they played 2 games and then a national championship, or they played just 2 altogether?
They played 2 championship games. All right, let me tell you how it went. During the regular season, he finished with 30 touchdown passes, and in the playoffs, the first playoff game against Willamette of Salem.
So you're saying there are just 4 teams in the NAIA playoffs?
That's right, just 4 teams.
Like today, isn't
in
it?
the NAIA playoffs. And, of course, the 1AA, you got a bunch of playoffs. And that was what I do miss about those playoffs. We watch every Thanksgiving, we got ready to watch Troy play football, and we take the desserts. You remember that, Mike? Over to the cafeteria, and the team would be eating the Thanksgiving dinner, and all these people from the public, there'd be 50 people bringing in desserts. It was something. And the boys, we did that for years at Troy. Because every year we were in the playoffs, it seemed like.
And they'd have to play those playoff games at home over Thanksgiving break, which was bad because the students were gone.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And it didn't have near the...
Bad about Appalachian State game. Nobody's going to be there.
Yeah,
I thought about that.
That's right. It could very well be that way. And I want to mention something, though, that about Sam Bird.
Yeah, go ahead and finish it. So he had 30 in the regular season and then
or
11
30,
in 2 games.
And 11 in 2 games. In fact, against Willamette of Salem, Oregon, Troy won the game 63 to 10, and he threw 6 touchdown passes in that game for 500 something yards, or close to it, right at it. And
this is when people were throwing for 200 yards a game.
Well, I'll be able to tell you this now. He threw 6 touchdown passes against Willamette, and then in the championship game the next week against Texas A&I, he threw 5 touchdown passes, and in the playoffs he threw 11 touchdown passes and he ended the season with 4,008 yards.
That's worth the story.
So what I'm saying, over 1,000 yards in the last 2 games.
So in 11 games, he had 41 touchdowns, which comes out to almost 4 touchdowns a game.
I should call him on the phone and talk to him about it.
What kind of footballs they used back then?
Well, just regular Wilson TDs.
Is that what they were?
Yeah, exactly right.
Troy, I think, uses an Adidas football.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly. I would call Sim and wake him up and ask him about all that.
We got to get Larry on. We haven't had Larry Blaney on all season.
I know. We need to have Larry on. No question.
Well, before the...
He's up there hopefully trying to help Malzahn win a few more games. Maybe he can help him now.
No, you know what? I
Is he
guarantee
helping Malzahn?
No. He's as laid back as you can possibly be, and enjoying life and playing a little golf, and he's enjoying a very good life as a retired person.
Is Janice still selling real estate up there?
I'm sure she is. She's very successful, and she probably still sells real estate here.
You could have a great coach's coffee shop every day. You could have Blakeney, Pat Dye, Gene Chiswick, Tuberville, all former head coaches that live in Auburn.
And Wayne Hall, remember him? He was the big defensive coordinator.
Max Howell is calling in about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
No, that's tomorrow.
No, he's going to call in today.
Okay.
He's has to be somewhere tomorrow. So you're right. That'd be fun. I could get Chiswick. Chiswick is a nice guy. He really is. And, he's enjoyed his retirement, making all that money from Auburn.
I know.
All of them are still drawing a check. Is Tuberville still drawing a check from Auburn?
He's not.
No, not anymore.
Yeah. People forget this. Wait a minute. Let's see.
Oh, he wants everybody to forget it now that he's running for Senate.
Right there.
I haven't forgot it.
6 in a row. There was a T-shirt like that.
Fear the thumb.
And he did something that nobody's going to ever do again, I don't think. It beat Alabama 6 times in a row.
You never know.
Ain't that something he could brag about if he wanted to?
Who would have thought that Alabama would have beat Tennessee 13 years in a row?
Yeah. Exactly.
These rivalries, things can change.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, they might have changed for Alabama when Tua got hurt. I mean, did the tide turn there? I can picture Alabama losing to Auburn now when they would have won if they had Tua probably. If they go to a bowl game, the players aren't going to care a lick about it, and I guarantee you, Mike, what do you think? 12 of those players are going to say, no way I'm risking my career in a bowl game, so they won't even play, all these NFL prospects.
Now, that's just speculation.
You watch and say,
that's his opinion.
Well, after the bowl game, if this happens, I want you to come back and say, yeah, you're right, Bill.
Well, see, for the first time, they finally get paid, Bill. They get paid to play in a bowl game.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, what they do, they get all the expenses. See.
Well, they've always got travel money.
All right, I know it, but it's close to $1,000 per person.
Their agents aren't going to let them rip.
The big unknown of it all, though, is if Alabama doesn't make the playoffs and Oklahoma doesn't make the playoffs, a lot of people say Oklahoma and Alabama will play in the Sugar Bowl, which would have been Tua against Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, wouldn't that be?
That's got the same, fanfare now. Mac Jones would be the quarterback instead of Tua.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something to see Tua playing against Alabama?
Feinbaum, I'll say this, Mike. Feinbaum talked about my point yesterday on the show. He said the repercussions of Tua getting hurt are much bigger than everybody thinks because all these players are looking at that and seeing those millions of dollars they could lose. And he predicted, that people are already sitting out these bowl games more and more.
Yeah.
But he says it's only going to be a lot more this year. Let's put it this way. If you were Henry Ruggs or Jerry Jeudy and we're getting ready to sign a $20 million contract, Would you risk all of that for a meaningless bowl game? I wouldn't.
Yeah, but hopefully they won't do that.
He's gonna when he has guys commit or something. I mean, there's probably gonna be some kind of paperwork you're gonna have to sign that you're gonna have to play at bowl games.
Look at those Dosey cinnamon rolls in the top right-hand corner. Boy, those are good cinnamon rolls. Man.
Charles Anderson has a new baseball coach, and it's not Alan Ponder.
Who is it, Mike?
It's a guy that I've never heard of. His name is John, I guess, Glufschick is his name. He came from Brookwood up in Tuscaloosa, which is a 6A school. He had a losing record up there. I talked to one of my sources up there last night. But apparently he's been a head baseball coach for the past 13 years. He won state championships at Lowndes Academy and Sweetwater.
He
Okay. Yeah.
coached at Sweetwater. What did you say his last name was?
It's Gluschek, I guess. Gluschich.
Boy, you reckon how they got in touch with him, you know?
Well, he was at Brookwood, which is right outside of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
He also coached at Brubaker Tech, Magnet, Montgomery Academy, and most recently at Brookwood. It was where he coached last year. So interesting hire. I don't know how in the world that one came about, but
well, now this gossip. The gossip out there, our guy turned it down, Mike.
Oh, okay.
That's a gossip out there. I don't know how true it is, but
Well, certainly Charles
Coach
Henderson.
Ponder.
Yeah, certainly Charles Henderson would have talked to him or asked him.
And Coach Ponder at Pike Liberal Arts is looking toward a third straight state championship. I think
interesting that Sammy Judah was not considered as well. I think he's an up and coming.
Yeah, now he has already left the school, though he's doing something else. I don't know where he's coaching, but he is an outstanding young coach. You're right. That's what I was sort of hoping to hear, that he got that job. But
he'll be a great coach one day. Is that kid that was the catcher at Charles Henderson and Troy University? I think he's playing in the minor leagues now.
Coach Smart.
Yeah, Coach Smart's son.
Yeah.
Don't you think he'll want to go into coaching too?
He probably will, and good chance he probably could go to work for his daddy one day if he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say, Coach Smart's daughter is the assistant on the Troy softball team as well, so they're all into coaching.
That's right. LSU is number one in the Amway coaches poll this week.
You're right. For the Divinity, their star linebacker that all of a sudden quit the team 2 years. I mean, not 2 years ago, but 2 weeks ago. Michael Divinity quit their team for personal reasons. Now he was back out at practice this week after they gave up 600 yards to Ole Miss.
I heard that. Yeah.
What, the kid from LSU?
A kid from LSU, their star player,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
quit the team for personal reasons before the Alabama game. Now after giving up 614 yards, all of a sudden he's back on the team again.
Oh boy!
Those personal reasons have been resolved.
Something.
Well, LSU's defense is. You can't say they are a complete team when. How many yards did Ole Miss get against them?
614.
Let me tell you, you're exactly right, and he is back on the team. People do anything to win, won't they?
Everybody talks about Alabama's sorry defense, and they are sorry by Alabama standards. But really, they're about the same as LSU's defense.
Yeah, that's right. Clemson is right now in the Amway poll, and this is the coaches poll, has LSU 1, Ohio State 2, Clemson 3. That sounds right. Georgia, I don't think Georgia deserves to be 4. Alabama is 5th. Oregon 6, Oklahoma, Utah, Penn State, and Florida. Let me tell you, I see Oklahoma getting in here somehow. I'm thinking Oklahoma's going to be the 4th team. What do y'all think?
They're one of the contenders.
With Hurt. Now, let me tell you something. And Hurt makes it like this. Everybody would love to see Hurt in the Final Four. Don't you agree?
I think they're going to try to get a Pac-12 team in because the Pac-12 team hasn't been in the playoffs in 3 years.
All right, all of them have great players. LSU's got a great player. Ohio State's got a great player. Clemson's got a great player. Georgia's got a so-so great player. Alabama used to have a great player.
Oregon's still got great players.
Arkansas Oregon, number 6, has a great player. Wouldn't you say their quarterback is a great player?
They say.
Justin Herbert is supposed to be a top 5 pick.
And number 7, Oklahoma, has Hurt, who is a great player. Don't you think that they would love to see LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma in the
Well, you got to look at
Four?
what their protocol says, and they've gone by it since they've had this playoff. It says this committee was selected to pick the 4 best teams.
Yeah.
That's it. Geography, TV ratings, popular players, that shouldn't come into play.
right.
When it comes down to the final 3 or 4 teams you're considering, you put them head to head and you say, all right, which team's the better team? And that's what Alabama hopes happens this time. And Alabama hopes they can beat Auburn with Mac Jones. And then they'll have an excellent case that they are certainly better than Oregon, which couldn't beat Auburn. And Alabama would have done it in Auburn with its backup quarterback. Oklahoma, you say they got the best team. But how can one of the 4 best teams in America, Mike, lose to Kansas State?
Yeah, but Kansas State's not terrible by
Well,
me.
they've got 4 losses.
But
Would Alabama have lost to Kansas State?
All right, but no question, no
there
question
you
about it. But Hurt, now you didn't hear me just a while ago. Hurt makes a difference. People love Hurt. Hurt, in Oklahoma in the Final Four. Doesn't that sound better than Alabama and no Tua?
I know, I agree with that. It does. It helps the matchup and everything. But the committee their mandate is not let's pick a popular player that everybody would love
I've been
to see.
hurt. I need to play that song. Yes, I've been hurt.
First game. I mean, they lost it with Mayfield, a Heisman Trophy winner. They couldn't win the first playoff game. They lost it with Kyler Murray, the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, I don't think Oklahoma is going to get a shot. I think they're going to go Pac-12.
All right. I'm thinking of it more than ever.
Well, let me ask you this.
All right, let me ask you this. He brought them back in heroic fashion.
Well, it's going to come down to Oklahoma, like you say, Oregon or Utah. And I'll ask Michael. I mean, who do you, between Oregon and Alabama, if Alabama beats Auburn, who would you say is the better team?
I mean, I definitely would say Alabama, but the thing is, when it's all said and done, I think Georgia's going to beat LSU now in the SEC championship.
No, Georgia's not very good, Mike.
No, Georgia's defense.
Georgia. I got Georgia on my mind.
Kirby Smart is more than good enough to get a game plan to beat LSU. And
LSU. Remember this, Mike. Remember this.
Georgia's offense will look great against LSU's defense.
Michael, remember this. Bomb, 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 bomb. Bomb, 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 bomb.
Hold that time.
LSU at 12-0 is in the playoffs regardless. All that's been said by national media. If Georgia beats LSU in the SEC championship game, 2 SEC teams will be in the playoffs.
And one of them won't be Alabama. You're right. That's the worst scenario for Alabama is for Georgia to beat LSU. Alabama needs Georgia to lose.
Yeah.
And
Alabama's got to beat Auburn in big fashion.
Alabama's got to beat Auburn
in big fashion.
Hopefully in big fashion, right. That's the only 2 things Alabama does. I think if they do those things, they win the Oregon-Utah debate. But y'all might be right, and they might say, well, for political reasons, we got to have a Pac-12 team. Although you look at the Pac-12, count up the teams that are in the top 25 of the latest polls. I think they got 2. I think it's Oregon and Utah. Look at the SEC. They've got 6, I think. So, I mean, is the number 2 team in the SEC better than the number 1 team in the Pac-12?
That's right.
I say yeah.
We're going to have more of an argument when Max Howell gets on the phone in a minute.
The polls will be out tonight, the playoff polls, so we'll find out. I think Alabama will probably be number 5.
All right. Now, Mike, you do understand my point about Hurt, though, don't you?
Yeah, but I mean, Hurts played awful in that game. If you didn't watch
well, let me tell you this: they love him. The people love Hurt, Mike. Hurt.
He was the reason they were down so many points. He fumbled. He threw a horrible interception. I mean, he was the reason. I mean,
but he's also the reason they won. And without Lamp, they're great players. That guy's better than everybody. Listen, Lamp for Oklahoma's better than all of Alabama's wide receivers.
He's good.
He's pretty good, but I don't know if he's better than all of them.
Now, before Max gets on the line, you've got to answer this question. Who is this new basketball phenom? Who is this guy, Mike?
Who you talking about?
The great NBA basketball player that's tearing it up, breaking all kinds of records.
Talking about the Greek Freak?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's been all
Tell me who this guy is.
he's been an all-star for 3 or 4 straight years.
But he's having a phenomenal year. What's his name?
Oh, my God. I mean,
Did you know this guy is considered the number 2 best player in the world?
yeah, I mean, it's Giannis, but they call him the Greek Freak.
And ladies and gentlemen, who does he play for?
Milwaukee Bucks.
The Milwaukee Bucks. And this guy he's done unbelievable. The last 4 games, he's broken a record.
Well, he's 7 foot tall.
He's 7 foot tall, but he shoots from way back.
Yeah, all these
Yeah,
people.
he's like a Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, where's he from? Do you know?
Greece.
Greece.
Greece. Oh, excuse me. All right, let's get this. Mike, gonna put you on hold and bring you right back. Good morning, Max Howell. How you doing?
Mike, I'm doing well this morning. How about you?
I was telling them, I said, let's shut up on this argument about who's the final four is going to be until you get on the line. Max Howell,
I'm tired of arguing. I'm not arguing today.
one of the very well-known analysts in America today, and has been around a long time. And right now, who would be your top 4 if they played tomorrow, Max?
I think Ohio State's probably the best team in the country right now. Of course, you got to put LSU up there. Looks like they'll probably win the SEC. I think Clemson's going to be there. The question's going to come in number 4. I've contended from day one, the committee's going to look at geographically where these teams play. And I think if Oregon wins out, I think Oregon will end up probably number 4.
And what do you think about hurt? I've been hurt.
Hurts.
Which one?
I mean, don't you think hurt
He
on
calls,
name?
Mike calls it hurts. Hurt.
Don't you think hurt got Oklahoma in the Final Four this weekend?
They're going to have to end up playing Baylor again, probably.
Yeah, okay.
Championship game, and I think that may be the deal. I think he's going to make a run, but the loss to Kansas State, didn't help him any. I can tell you that.
Nope.
Yeah. But again, people like him. This is a sentimental thing, very similar to Tua. Wouldn't you agree?
Everybody likes him, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, Mike. I don't think he's any doubt. I mean, he's a great athlete. And you reckon Alabama needs him now? I'd say absolutely. I don't think Alabama's to get back in it. They aren't the same team without him.
Yeah. All right.
All you got to do, guys, is look at the last week. When Tua was in there for a quarter and up to 2 minutes and a half, they scored 35 points. When Mac Jones came in for 2 minutes and a whole half, they scored 3. If that doesn't tell you something, you better kind of reevaluate where Alabama is right now.
Exactly right. Hold on. Put Mike Amos back on. Here we go. We're gonna go 1, 2, 1. All right, both of you on?
Yeah, man.
Max?
Yeah, we're here.
Max Howell from Fulton, Mississippi. Now, let me tell you this. It's cold in Troy, Alabama this morning. What's the temperature in Fulton?
It's not bad, Mike. It's probably in the upper 30s right now. But this time last week,
But it was cold, wasn't it?
it was 11 on Monday morning, 17 on Tuesday morning.
Isn't that amazing? That's
Those
northern.
were 100-year records, you said, right?
And that's northern Mississippi, isn't it? I mean,
We're right up in the northeast corner. I'm 8 miles from the state line at Alabama, and I'm 30 minutes from the Tennessee state line.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, it gets pretty nasty up here. We get those fronts that come out of the northwest and turn, and you guys, where you are, you've got those lows that come in off the Gulf, but that controls your weather down there. You don't get too much of stuff like we get up here.
Yep.
We're going to have 2 or 3 snows every year.
we got Max Howell on the line, ladies and gentlemen, from Fulton, Mississippi. Mike Amos from the Gulf of Mexico. And, of course, Bill Rice just walked in the door about 30 minutes ago from downtown Troy, Alabama.
From Hillcrest Boulevard.
From Hillcrest. He's one of those rich kids from Hillcrest, Mike.
I talk to one every day, Blake Crow. He always tells me how great he is because he grew up on the Hillcrest.
His parents sit right behind me in church every Sunday. They're some of the finest people in America.
And Denny's a very good friend of mine, too. No question about it.
Blake needs to get out there and cut his dad's shrubs for him. They don't look very good.
Wait a minute, Mike. Now, you know better than that. I guarantee you, Cheryl Crow's shrubs have been cut. I promise you.
His house looks immaculate to me.
Yeah, it is.
That's always an ongoing joke about how perfect the shrubs were at the Crow house.
Yeah.
You know, the house across from the Crows is the old Johnston house, Fox Johnston's house.
Yeah.
Fox was a buddy of mine. Everybody knows Beth. Y'all remember when they had Hurricane Opal? I think that house lost more trees than any house in Troy, the Johnston house. Yeah, I think it lost about 70 or 80 trees on that property alone from Hurricane Opal. Right across.
We lost 7 because they fell in the house. Dad and I were watching them fall.
Yeah. Michael, who's Scooby Carter?
He's a defensive back that's entered the transfer portal for Alabama. He had a lot of off-the-field issues when going.
I've never heard of Scooby Carter in my life. And
I'll tell you what, though.
Freshman player that's leaving the program. Alabama's had 3 or 4 of their top commitments from last year that have now left during the season.
That attrition will catch up with you eventually, won't it?
Thanks. Alabama without Tua does not have is not near as marketable.
And I don't know why. I don't know how the committees. They're going to certainly try to evaluate, wins and losses first. And I'll be interested now to see. Auburn was awful last week offensively. When Alabama goes, that's the last big push. Alabama's got to go to Auburn and play them, and that's always a tough place to play. But I don't know. The Auburn program, guys, we've talked about it for years. The most consistent thing about Auburn is inconsistency. They'll play one good ball game, and then they'll lay an egg or two along the way. And their offense right now, Bo Nix has done a remarkable job for a freshman under the conditions.
I think he has too. I think he has too. You're right.
But you know what? Kevin Steele's defense is one of the best in the conference. But the defense has to stay on the field because the offense can't produce. And that's all the head guy's fault, guys. I'm going to tell you. That's his fault. He calls the plays, and he's in charge of recruiting, and you tell me why they don't have more than one decent running back.
Of course, all of these guys LSU wouldn't be very marketable if they lost Burroughs. And Clemson wouldn't be as marketable if they lost their quarterback. Isn't that right? And Oklahoma wouldn't be very marketable.
And I would make the case that Ohio State's quarterback shouldn't even be playing. I mean, he got one of these waivers to transfer and then play immediately because one baseball player allegedly said a bad word about him.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's why they let him.
Yeah, it was a racial comment.
Gosh, I didn't know about that.
The player or the player's family never heard it. For some reason, it got a lot of media attention, and that was enough to let him play immediately.
Yeah. Thanks.
He's born and raised in Georgia, and don't tell me he had never heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
That was all. That was kind of a political move, but he's done the job for him.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about getting that playing time, behind Fromm.
Yeah.
Fromm's got to give it. Would he made a difference in the South Carolina game and the Kentucky game? Probably so.
And even Fromm would be Georgia would not be as marketable without Fromm. I'm just not real high on Georgia.
130 yards against Auburn, though. I mean, he's not. Setting the world on fire.
No.
Auburn's defense, Max was bragging about him. They held LSU, who's got an awesome. We all know they got an awesome offense. Auburn held them to 23 points, and then Georgia comes in there and Fromm throws for 120 yards. You're right. Auburn's defense is national championship caliber if they just had a normal offense.
Look, if you watch that LSU ball game, Auburn's done the best job of anybody against LSU's offense. And they changed it up. They rushed 3, put a middle linebacker as a spy, and dropped 7. The Burroughs had problems. They took a long pass away from him. And then, of course, they made some adjustments, and Auburn broke down a couple of times. But overall, if Auburn had some offense, compared to what they got, I think they could have been up at. I looked at them at the beginning of the season and said they're going to be 8-4. Yeah. Where are they going to be? I think they're still going to be 8-4. They're going to lose. I think they still got a chance to lose to Alabama.
Right. to this, Max. This is the truest statement I've made in a long time. Ding, 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 ding. All right, alarm. Alabama, Auburn's going to have 8 in the box. They're going to their game plan, without any doubt, is to take the run away from Alabama and let this guy beat him in the air, which he will not. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn is going to win the football game, Mike.
Well, I mean,
They're going to take the run away from Alabama, and it's going to be all. This kid's not going to beat you throwing.
it's definitely going to be a pick 'em, I think. I don't think Alabama will be favored, I don't think.
Max, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, do you agree with me that will be Auburn's plan?
yeah, I think Auburn's got a great chance. They're going to have to play. Alabama's not going to roll over. You know, they try to run the ball. But remember, Auburn's got they got 3 first-rounders playing on that defensive front.
Yeah.
So, they're going to probably be able to do it. Alabama's offensive line is not the greatest. That's why Tua got hurt. He had to run for his life a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to take a short break, Max. We'll be right back with you right after this.
Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan. The best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
At Marguerite's, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Do you want a good truck driving job? Do you want to drive for the best? Then drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Line. We have good benefits. We have good home time. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We match your 401k up to 4%. You can start in the 401k retirement plan after 30 days of employment. You need to drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Line. It's time for you to think about you and your family's future. Wiley Sanders Truck Line. $1,000 sign-on bonus? These guys did.
That show brought to you by Troy Bank and Trust Company. The only bank you'll ever need is Troy Bank and Trust Company, with 12 locations all over the Wiregrass. Mike, can you name any of them?
What, they have 13 branches?
Yeah.
Auburn, 3 in Troy, Elba, Enterprise, New Brockton, Goshen, Brundage.
You did pretty good.
Dothan? Don't they have one in Dothan?
Yeah.
I said Dothan, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you said Dothan. Auburn, did you say Auburn?
Yeah, I said Auburn.
Did you say New Brockton?
I said New Brockton.
Well, you got them, I think, all 12.
I don't know if I said Arrington. I know I said
Arrington, you're right. That's another one. That's 13.
I want to see him get into Montgomery and have a big building in downtown Montgomery.
We have Max Howell on the phone, ladies and gentlemen, from Fulton, Mississippi. And ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are not going to have a coaching change at Ole Miss. Is that true, Max?
That is very true.
And it's all about a young quarterback that was an outfielder on the baseball team that can fly. This kid can fly.
And his
man.
middle name is what? He's got 3 names. His last name is Crumley. It's Rice Crumley.
Yeah, I just call him Plumlee.
He's pretty good, isn't he? You know, isn't it amazing what a quarterback can do, Max?
You know, look, that's why, guys, that's why they command the most money in the NFL. You know, that's why they're the star on the college and high school teams. It all starts there.
Yeah.
You know, and the great ones, you have an opportunity to, you know, to check at the line of scrimmage and make the reads if they change the defense. And, you know, it's a lot of things go into that. And everybody, just because a guy's gifted, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a great quarterback.
Thanks.
Some guys can't read. I can go ahead and give you some down the line. The kid, Emory Jones in Florida, is a perfect example. Emory Jones is just as good as that kid, but he can't read the defenses, and that's why, well, he doesn't play him there.
Oh, gosh. Well, Max, we've got some, we had a question come up.
Well, why are they giving him another year, though? Isn't he 4 and 7?
Yeah, but, you know, he's a home. People are excited about the brand of ball they're playing.
4 and 7. He lost his.
Yeah, but he's been on the staff.
Memphis.
He's been on the staff, Michael, for 10 years, and he's a homegrown boy. His dad played there. I coached his brother when I was on the staff there. He's a long-time guy, and they look at where they came from. Mm-hmm. You know, remember, they couldn't get anybody to take that job.
And ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 of them. There's a brother, and then there's another close one.
You really think this guy deserves the job? He beat New Mexico State 41-3. These are his wins.
Yeah.
New Mexico State 41-3. He beat Vanderbilt 31-6. He beat Southeast Louisiana 40-29, and he beat Arkansas 31-17. He beat.
Well, I don't know.
Is Ole Miss out of their minds?
No, they aren't. They're broke. It cost them $12 million to get rid of it.
Isn't that unreal? This guy has a $12 million buyout.
Well, I think they're still coming off these probation, and so he gets the benefit of the doubt for not having the players.
Absolutely right.
And the recruiting has not been, you know, who wants to go to Ole Miss under this cloud? And so now they're coming out of this, and they're looking forward and saying that, you know, this could be better.
Yeah, let me tell you something else about the university now. This morning I was watching the early youth. They've had almost a 5% drop in enrollment overall. Why? Because it's kind of, you know, it's got the politics has gotten involved so much over there. Yeah. You wouldn't recognize that campus from the time I was there to what's going on over there now. So it's much like Missouri, just about like the University of Missouri. They've just got some internal politics. It's gone a different way than a lot of people want, and it's not. That stadium seats 65,000. If you get 45 there on any given Saturday, they're fortunate.
Yeah, that's bad. You see that everywhere.
And I said this early in the year, and I won't say it as much now, but, you know, Ole Miss cares more about what happens in the tailgate area than they do on the football field. I guarantee it's more important to them. Don't you agree?
Max, what was your line? You said that Ole Miss is the only school that redshirts former Miss USAs or something like that.
Redshirt them.
What about Mississippi State, Max? They've lost 5 out of their last 6. Moorhead looks like he's in disarray. I mean, Alabama didn't even try the second half. It didn't seem like they still won 38-7.
Yeah, he's gone. I don't think he's any doubt. He's going to take the Rutgers job. The Ruby is up the street right now. So it'll be interesting now to see how they do with him. I think Ole Miss beats him in the Egg Bowl next week. I think they got Christian this week.
Abilene Christian, they'll go 5-5. They'll be I guess that'll be their record going into the Egg Bowl. No, 5-6. 5-6 will be their record going into the Egg Bowl. Okay.
Well, on Feinbaum yesterday, they were talking about Malzahn going to Arkansas or maybe Mississippi State. Just
they can't afford the buyout there either.
If he left on his own, there would be no buyout for Auburn or anybody else, right? If Auburn was okay with it.
Well, the word I got was that there possibly would be a negotiated buyout. He's not going to walk away with nothing. I mean, I think it's at $17 million now. They'll probably make it to 10. Yeah. But I talked to a guy at Arkansas last night that said that there's an undercurrent up there. Don't want him. Even though he's from there, and he's been a favorite up there. But there's some other things going on internally. I think that Arkansas is going to try to take it. The Norvell guy at Memphis is on both Florida State and Arkansas's top list right now.
I tell you, he's got a good team now. He is a heck of a coach. Norvell, the kid at Memphis, and I would not think Memphis would be a very exciting place to be. What do you think?
Guys, I'm gonna tell you that I recruited against those. The university itself standards are not what the SEC standards are. You can get kids in Memphis if they got body heat. And you can play them and all that stuff. And remember, NCAA doesn't get into the academic side. They got the minimum standards of 2.0, I think a 2.0 and an 18 on the SEC to get in. Or if you're a transfer, you got to have a 3.0 if you're a junior college kid. But the fact is I don't know, to compete in every sport against an SEC team every year, I don't know that they can do that. They've had some good teams. The basketball has, done fairly well from time to time, particularly when California was there. And they've had some others that on a run through there. But it's a different environment up there. Yeah. In fact, Billy, when I was at Ole Miss with Billy, remember we were 50 miles.
Billy Brewer.
He said, don't even go into business to recruit, because it's the academics, the transcripts that come out of there from high school. You can't tell what's good or bad. I'll be honest with you.
All right, let me ask you this, Max. This goes back a little bit. The Brewer kid, the outstanding quarterback at Baylor, is he? I know he's got a huge football background with his family. Billy Brewer, was he related to Billy Brewer?
Not that I know of. No, all Billy's family was from Mississippi.
Yeah.
He was born and raised there. He had 3 sons. One lives in Memphis. I think one still lives in Oxford, and one's a gunner. Was on the staff at North Carolina until last year, and I think he moved somewhere else after Mac Brown came in. But no, I don't think there's any relationship there.
That guy's background's Texas, Dad. His dad and all his family played in Texas.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Max, we were talking about you earlier. Sim Bird's record for 6 touchdowns in one game was tied this weekend by Troy's outstanding quarterback. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the offensive coordinator for one Sim Bird in 1968 is on the phone with us right here. And something that I know for a fact, Sim Bird in those 2 playoff games, one against Willamette of Salem, Oregon in the first round, they won 63-10. Then they played the next week for the championship against Texas A&I. They won 43-35 for the national championship. The quarterback at Troy was Charles Sim Bird, who lives in Montgomery right now. He threw for 1,008 yards and 11 touchdowns.
In 2 games.
In 2 games, which I don't know if that will ever be broken.
Yeah, that year, Mike, we threw, I think we passed for 300. Attempted 386 passes at that particular year. And of course, the other stat that I'm proud of, Sim got touched 10 times out of 300.
And he probably did that in that one UT Martin game, probably.
You're absolutely right. I guarantee 6 of them did come from that.
Yeah.
They sure did.
The more I hear about that 68 team, the more I want to put on my writer's hat and do an in-depth story on them.
It would be a good story. I could give you a lot of information, and of course, Max could give you a whole lot of information.
I'll talk to y'all if I do it.
Max, and of course, Troy's quarterback, Max, is very, very good.
Yeah, I saw he's gotten better. Of course, I saw him early in the year get Southern Miss, and I think one more. I can't remember.
But he stands in there. He stands in that pocket like very few guys do.
Yep.
Now, I don't know physically if he could play in the pros.
Yeah, and we've talked about the whole problem's been on the defensive side of the ball. And that's all right, now, how many got 1 or 2 left?
2.
Remains.
You got to go to Lafayette. Troy's a 14-point underdog. They play at 4 p.m. And then they got a ranked Appalachian State team to finish the season on Friday after Thanksgiving in Troy.
Yeah, okay.
And
I still think the Appalachian State might get picked up by some television, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, well, all of them have some type of television, it seems like. A lot of Max.
Troy's got to get to a bowl game, though. This team's got way too much talent not to go to a bowl.
Yeah, it's real. Those games are real important. I have a bus trip planned for that. I don't know. We need more participation. So if you'd like to go on the bus trip to Lafayette, we've got plenty of room on our bus, and we'd love to have you call this number 372-2001, 372-2001, and we'll get you on that trip. We'll leave out early on Saturday morning, and the game's at 4 o'clock.
You're doing this right now for 3 or 4 days away?
Right now, it's something that I've been told to do, asked to do.
Well, if anybody can do it, it's here.
No, well, I know.
I'll be in Biloxi Saturday. How far is Biloxi from Lafayette?
Well, it's still about 4-hour drive, I think, something like that. We were going to come back and spend the night in Baton Rouge.
No, Biloxi's pretty close to
then
Lafayette.
Come back on Sunday morning, and but it would be a fun trip. We're going on the party bus, Mike, the 28-passenger bus.
Oh, fun!
Wow.
So we would love to have somebody to call in and jump on that.
Boy, you talk about partying. Those folks in Louisiana know how to party.
Yeah, no question about it. Of course, Max Howell's our guest, and Max knows that area and knows it well. Back when in the heyday of Billy Atkins' years, y'all played Southwest Louisiana, you played Northeast Louisiana, you played McNeese State. You played all those guys. Southeast Louisiana.
Southwest Louisiana is Louisiana Lafayette, right? That's the same school.
Yeah, that's Louisiana Lafayette.
And now they go by Louisiana. They've dropped the Lafayette.
And Northeast is Louisiana Monroe, I think. Isn't that right, Max?
That's right, yeah.
And you remember Northeast was pretty good.
They were in a different division, if you remember, Mike.
Yeah.
Like what we call 1AA then.
Yeah.
They were.
They were good, weren't they?
I never will forget. We took in '67. I think was the turning point of our program. We flew out there, and I think Northwest at that time was like number 1 or 2 in the country. They had about 6 or 7 NFL players, and I never will forget. We went out there, and I was always the guy off the bus and had to go talk to the coach and tell him, our guys Danny and them like to throw and catch an unmarked ball, even at night. They didn't want to strike ball.
I know, and I can't see how they can see the ball at night like that.
Well, we worked on it, guys. I'm telling you, you won't know the drills that we did. But anyway, bottom line was this: the coach looked at me and said, "Son, I was about 25 years old." The coach looked at me and said, "Son, we don't care if y'all play with a Nerf ball." Well, I went back and told the coaches that and the team that, and we had, I think, as I recall, we had them like 25 to 3 or something by third quarter. And we ended up beating them, 30 to 3 or something like that.
But
but that turned our whole program. That was the turning point.
Just think of all the teams that played football. Nicholls State had a football program then too, and but the big three.
What about Northwestern State and Southeast Louisiana? Those were still teams too, were they?
Yeah, and
then you got historically black schools like Grambling and Southern and
But I'll tell you this, too, McNeese was good, man. They were good, and we beat them 52-0. You remember that? That was I think that was one of his big signature wins as a coach, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, that was it. In fact, we closed down Louisiana. It was Louisiana College at that time.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Frank Young was the head coach. He went on to Auburn to be the recruit coordinator for a number of years. We beat them 65 or 66-0. That was their last game.
Well, Clemson's last year, the only game they won, Clemson's last year was Louisiana College. Gosh, they had a lot of teams playing football.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the only Division I programs they had are LSU and Tulane.
Yeah. Nelson Stokely coached. Who did he coach? Max?
Yeah. I remember.
You remember former LSU quarterback coached and Alabama played them at home, Mike? Who was that?
Come on, Sparky Woods?
No, Mike. You remember when Alabama played at what was the school that Nelson Stokely?
They played out in Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, Lafayette. You remember that, Max?
Yeah, they played in Lafayette.
Gene Stallings played them, yeah.
And Gene Stallings played them at Lafayette, Alabama.
I thought it was Coach Bryant, but that might have been.
No, it was probably Louisiana.
They played them down there. I'll never forget because the stadium only held 30,000.
Yeah, and Nelson Stokely was the quarterback or the coach.
Orgeron played for one of those Louisiana schools, not LSU.
Well, you remember, guys, Coach Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe that first year he was at Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
His starting tailback was selling cocaine in the parking lot.
Who is that?
Jimmy Johns.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johns.
Not the sandwich guy.
I have forgot about who Jimmy Johns was.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johns, was that his name?
I think so. You're right. He's a cocaine dealer.
Yeah. I mean, he was selling it in the parking lot.
Oh, gosh.
In the parking lot of the Mount Morris.
Listen, let's make sure we get our facts right on that, ladies and gentlemen. That's their opinion. Max Howell's our guest, and Max, I know you've been...
They keep on talking about Odell Hagens, the interim coach of Florida State, that he's done a great job. Was Hagens there when you were there?
He was a defensive lineman. Yes, he was. He was a great player. But I love Odell to death. He's a great guy. And he's honest, and he works hard and all that. But that's not the image they want. We can talk about all the performance that happens. The kids love him to death because he was a player there, and he's been on the staff for 20-something years. But the fact is I just don't think that they're looking for – they're trying to make a splash right now. They're trying to get the public back and the fans back in the stands. And like I say, I'll be honest with you, I think he probably stays on the staff. I'd be kind of surprised though if he gets a head job.
Yeah, named. I keep on hearing on the radio down here, and I don't see it happening because he's had some health issues lately, but they keep on saying because they're not going to get Stoops or they're not going to get so-and-so that there's an outside chance that they bring Mark Rick in to be the head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you think of that?
That's interesting because, he had a heart attack, recently.
Yeah. I can't see it.
About his health situation. I mean, that might be a push, but I still think they're looking for some younger guy to come, that's coming up through the ranks, that's been successful, maybe even at a place like Appalachian State or somewhere like that they can come. Probably they're going to go with maybe what I call a retread from a big time Division I program.
I tell you what, the best candidate for that job is the guy at Memphis, Orville.
I think he's got a really good chance, and I think he would take Florida State over Arkansas.
And he's a bright young coach. He's one of the guys that can get down with them. And he's a good one. And of course,
whose stock is really declining is Herman at Texas. Boy, he's not had near the turnaround that everybody followed.
LSU's proud they didn't get him. I can tell you that right now.
All right, what are the big games? Of course, the big game is, and big question mark, and I know you're hearing it everywhere, Max, is what happens if Michigan beats Ohio State? Does Ohio State drop out of the Final Four or what?
That's going to be interesting to say. A lot of people just hold their breath, with that particular ball game. I just don't. That's going to be interesting. I wish I had an answer for that. I don't think it's going to happen, but I truly believe if you watch Ohio State every week, I think from top to bottom, they're probably the best team in the country right now.
But the team that doesn't get any respect, ladies and gentlemen, has won 26 straight games, and that's Clemson. Mm-hmm. They don't get any respect, and they probably going to kick the heck out of them.
If I was betting on who was going to win the national championship right now, I would still bet on Clemson.
But, it's like they're not even there, Max. I mean, nobody mentioned them. I mean, nobody gives them the time of day.
It's because of the league they play in, Mike. They don't play anybody.
I know.
Even in their league in the ACC.
Oh, yeah.
That league gets no respect.
It's terrible. You're right.
See, but what they do, they score the points they're supposed to score. They'll score 40 to 50 every week because, they're so much better than everybody else. And on top of that, he plays probably 50 or 60 kids every week.
You would have thought that Wake Forest would have been competitive, and they just got killed, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
You got two huge games tonight. You got Ohio against Bowling Green and Eastern Michigan against Northern Illinois. Who's going to win those games?
In football?
That sounds like games that Will Matthews would bet on.
That's the MAC. The MAC's on Tuesday night tonight.
All right, now who plays again?
You got the old man, your favorite coach, Frank Solich, Ohio against Bowling Green, and then Eastern Michigan against Northern Illinois.
I take Ohio and who's the coach at Eastern Michigan?
I'll take Northern Illinois since they beat Alabama once.
Yeah, I like sort of like Northern Illinois. It's a big school, isn't that right, Mac?
Then Troy played them in the bowl, didn't they?
Yeah, we did. We went up 14-0. I was out in California at that game, and Troy went up 14-0 and never saw another point after that.
That's the way it goes sometimes.
Max Howell is our guest, and of course, Max, I know you've been busy.
Well, the big game this week is Penn State and Ohio State.
What do you think there?
I'll take Ohio State.
Yeah, I will.
I think Oklahoma.
They may be wanting Franklin back to Vanderbilt.
I know it. You're right. Well, who would get the Vanderbilt job? Who's the perfect fit for the Vanderbilt job?
They said they're going to hire Jeff Fisher, the former Titans coach.
Oh man, he's a defensive-minded coach. I know that.
I am a contrarian. I don't know why Vanderbilt couldn't potentially win if they changed a few things, because it's a great city, arguably the best city in the South to go to school in. Nashville is hot, man. The academics, you get a degree from Vanderbilt, that's almost like getting a degree from Stanford. Stanford has proven they can compete on the national stage. Yeah. They got to have tons of money from alumni that they could tap into. And then once upon a time in the teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s, Vanderbilt was as good as anybody in the SEC.
You know something I can't understand about Vanderbilt? Why don't they use the pro stadium? And I reckon they know they can't fill it up.
They can't fill it up.
That's right. The name of that old field, do y'all know that name of that field? Dudley Field. You remember that? That's a little trivia there. Dudley Field in Nashville.
When Alabama or Georgia play there, there's more Alabama and Georgia fans than Vanderbilt fans.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Road against Indiana this weekend?
Who now?
No.
Michigan's got to travel to Indiana this
Yeah,
weekend.
you're right. They could run into
Indiana's
trouble
better
there.
than but Michigan's rolling, man. They're playing with confidence. You know how much I believe in big momentum, and Michigan has the big mo.
And the guy that's doing it is the former quarterback that at one time was quarterback at Ole Miss, Peterson. Isn't that right?
Oh,
Yeah, Patterson.
Patterson. He got caught up in the Hugh Freeze deal, though.
Yeah.
That's why he had to leave, or did leave.
Well, of course, Hugh Freeze is your favorite coach. We know that.
Put the best team in the on the field. I'm going to tell you.
No question about it. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more of Today in L.A.
Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the big pre-owned sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
At Marguerite's, we've been designing and crafting custom jewelry for 4 generations. It's an art for master jewelers. There's really no room for error. It doesn't matter how big the diamond is. You don't expect anything less than perfection. What matters is quality, beauty, and value. After all these decades, your engagement ring is still our greatest pride. Marguerite's exquisite jewelry.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Do you want a good truck driving job? Do you want to drive for the best? Then drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Line. We have good benefits. We have good home time. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We match your 401k up to 4%. You can start in a 401k retirement plan after 30 days of employment. You need to drive for Wiley Sanders Truck Line. It's time for you to think about you and your family's future. Wiley Sanders Truck Line. $1,000 sign-on bonus? These guys did.
I think he's trying to.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Jean's Flowers, one of the wonderful flower, they'll send flowers all over the world today from their store right here on South Brundy Street. Also, Dixieland Dental, located 9 miles north of Dothan, one of the largest dental clinics in Alabama. We appreciate Piggly Wiggly. Boy, I tell you, they had a great selection of steaks, and their produce is as good as you're going to find anywhere. I love their vegetables, and great place to shop, Piggly Wiggly. And Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass right here in Troy. Nobody, and I'm saying nobody, beats a Premier deal. And Trojan Auto Parts, my good friend Mike Kilcrease. And, hey, Mike, the Arrington Purple Cats are about the only team in this part of the country. Them and G.W. Long are still in the hunt for a state championship.
Well, all the Crenshaw County teams got beat, and now we're down to Dale County teams, it looks like.
That's right. The Purple Cats. In fact, Max, you know all about the Purple Cats, don't you?
Man, listen, of course, when we were at Troy, remember I was at Ozark, too.
That's right, I know it.
We had a good chance to look at all those things through the years. And I did keep up with those. I tuned in. I've got 3 or 4 services I tuned in out of Alabama that I get all the scores on Saturday morning. So I keep up with it pretty close.
You know what, Max, you would be great at a game called Ghost. Have you ever played it? It's one of these games you play in the car when you're taking trips, like Piggy Punch or Cow Poker. In Ghost, you name a city, like say Troy, and then the next person that comes, Troy ends with the letter Y. The next person has to give you a city that starts with the letter Y. So of York, I would say York, Alabama. But you know who is great at that game, and I found Charlie Bradshaw was great at it, is anybody that has recruited all over the – because you have been in all these towns.
You mean the coach or the
The coach, yeah.
He was good at it.
But I bet Max could name you all kind of towns that we've never heard of.
For what?
Oh, well, yeah.
I can name every town. I can name every town in the state of Alabama that has an ABC store. I've been to every single one of them.
Yeah. You know, Max.
You'd be good at it.
Why are so many towns in Mississippi named after Indians?
Well, because it was look, this was a hotbed. That's all it was. My great-granddaddy married one from over at Philadelphia. And I used to kid Dad all the time about his granddad because, he couldn't find anybody else to marry.
Wow. Did you like your days at Florida State?
Oh man, that was. Usually we didn't worry about winning. We just worried about by how much.
But the Bowdens were a clean act, weren't they?
Well, yeah, but we did what we had to do to get the recruits in. Remember, we recruited the state of Florida, and we take about 15 out of that. Then we go all over the country to get the rest of them.
When Charlie failed with that Florida, you didn't know what was going to happen, don't you? Don't you agree?
Well, yeah, well, Charlie had he had some baggage along the way, but he was competitive.
He was one of Coach Bryant's favorites. I know that.
He was a teammate of my dad's.
That's right. And, of course, I think he started at Alabama, weighed 195 pounds, something like that. Back then, those linemen were not very big, Max.
No, and Jimmy Sharp, and,
That's right.
Wilson, all those guys.
And the orthopedic doctor in Montgomery.
Coach Fuller, that coached at Jacksonville State and was an assistant at Alabama a long time. He was small offensive lineman.
Cecil Dowdy was perhaps one of the best of all time, and he weighed 215 pounds.
I mean, you had Jerry Duncan. He was a starter, too, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what Jerry Duncan was popular with, Mike?
He was one of the best color guys. I mean, sideline guys ever on radio to me.
He was really good. But let me tell you what position he was the eligible receiver at tackle. The tackle eligible receiver. You remember that, Max?
Yep.
That's what he was famous for.
Another one who was undersized that was really great and a fine gentleman too was Tom Somerville.
He died not long ago.
I know.
You know that? Little Tommy Somerville.
He was one of the great citizens of Montgomery.
Sure was. Yeah, all those names are familiar.
When Mickey Andrews, he played at Alabama, didn't he?
Yeah, played linebacker.
No, he was a defensive back.
Okay, well, defensive back, whatever.
I'm telling you, he was as tough a guy as ever. in the spring of 88, he had double hip surgery. He coached spring training in a chair. He couldn't even walk, but he was out on the field. Well, guys, look, Willie Taggart brought him back this past year.
Yeah.
To defense.
I'll throw some other old names out there, and of course, Conley Duncan. You remember linebacker Conley Duncan?
That name didn't ring a bell. I don't know.
And of course, Coach Brown had all those. Mike Hall, out here at Tarrant, Alabama. And Mike Hall,
yeah.
And then Wayne Hall, this is a guy that got out of coaching prematurely. What happened to Wayne Hall? He was an excellent defensive coordinator at Auburn. You remember that?
There's something.
Well, he and Bobby Louder hooked up. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, I got you. But he was very successful defensive coordinator at Auburn. And of course, he played at Alabama.
He had all those great defensive linemen, including the
Rockers.
The Rockers, that we know it.
They were mean. Auburn, they were sort of mean.
Auburn turned that program around with great defensive linemen, really. Coach Dye did, including the Rockers, and there were a couple before them, but they were tough.
You know the difference in linebackers today? They go from 4.8 40s to 4.4 40s. You got to run them 4.4 4.5 to play linebacker now. Isn't that right, Max?
Did y'all see I saw a game the other day. I think it was Utah State or I wish I could remember the team, but they had a offensive lineman, who is 6'9", 400 pounds.
Yeah.
Starts 6'9", 400 pounds.
You would think we'd see more of that, Max, but we don't, do we?
No, you know what, though, guys? When you get up above, and the same thing with quarterbacks, we got the 6'6" wide receiver, but you're not going to ever see a 6'6" corner trying to cover him.
No, you're right.
Physiologically, they can't turn their hips. They're stiffer, and it's a whole thing mechanically that happens to guys that get that big. That's why you don't see about the 6'5", 6'6", 300-pound lineman is not going to get much bigger than that that's effective.
I want to say hello to great accounts at First Cahaba Bank, located on Publix Boulevard right here in Troy. Max Howell calling in from Fulton, Mississippi. Max, everywhere you go, Max, a lot of people, guys want to know about what's happening in football, but all the girls want to know is what's for dinner. And Max, Thanksgiving is coming up. Tell us your specials at Thanksgiving.
But see, we won't get into Thanksgiving. This week we're going to do Brunswick stew. Our guys they hunt all the time. They come in, and I got a fishing camp and a hunting camp that I serve on the weekends. This week we're going to do the hunting camp. They still shooting squirrels up here. I'm not cooking any this week. I did last week. But we're going to do Brunswick stew. That's an all-day cooking job. I use chicken and pork in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vegetables. It's going to come right off the oven. And I do jalapeno cornbread with it. That's something all our guys like. We'll have a couple of sides with a relish dish and some deviled eggs and some coleslaw. And we'll wash all that down with a big old pitcher of sweet iced tea. But guys, this time of year, cold. My guys up here love that hot chocolate cake coming out of the oven. We call it Mississippi mud pie. It's covered with chocolate and pecans, and it's warm, and they put homemade vanilla ice cream on the top of it.
Sounds good to me, I tell you, Max.
I don't think people are going on these trips to hunt. They're going on these trips to eat.
Yeah. But Max, these folks today, Max,
right, Bill.
I was raised around squirrel hunting. Where you had a dog, and during Thanksgiving, the men would go out and squirrel hunt during the morning, and then come back for a big meal at Thanksgiving.
Exactly
meal.
right.
But they don't know anything about how to skin a squirrel. Nobody.
What do you shoot a squirrel with? What type of weapon?
Well, you shoot him with a shotgun or shoot him with a .22 rifle.
You need to shoot him with a rifle. Yeah. You don't need to bite into one of those.
That's right. How many times have you done that, eating a squirrel?
Oh man, I broke a tooth.
Yeah. And of course, your buckshot, the buckshot. But let me tell you this: prepared well prepared well by people that know, it's delicious. Don't you agree?
Well,
Absolutely.
It's dark meat, though. It's all dark meat, isn't it?
It's all dark meat. Yeah, it is.
But
of course, like I say, skinning it is a key, Mike.
see, my daddy could skin one in just 3 or 4 minutes. You know.
Yeah.
We'd never go hungry in Troy if we had to eat something because we got about 1 million squirrels.
Of course, you also have those bird suppers, mostly dove. Is that right?
Yeah. The quail business is gone. I don't know what killed the quail business around the country, but it did.
You're exactly right.
Well, Mike told us what hurt the dove shoot business. See if you agree, Max. He said people used to go and they could listen to the college football games on Saturday on the radio. But now with all the games on TV, there's not as many people want to go.
While dove field, you would listen to Alabama, Tennessee, and while you're waiting for the bird to come in, and now
you weren't missing any
football games.
You weren't missing any games. The only game you only cared about one game, your team, and then you could listen to them on the radio.
Exactly.
That is true.
Mike Amos calling from the Gulf of Mexico. Mike, is it crowded down there? He's already gone.
He's gone. He's gone on to sell some wine.
Well, Max, what's your plan this week? All right, we brought you in here. The Final Four is I know there's some big games left. How big is the Oregon-Utah game? What bearing? Don't you know?
I think it's huge because I think if they win that one, I think they move to number 4.
Okay, so you would think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Oregon if they win out, because I think the committee likes them. They want the West Coast represented. Oregon's probably the best team to do that.
Yeah, and of course, Utah is hard nosed with their coach, and they're pretty good. So,
I just don't. I don't think the Utah fan base is appealing enough and large enough across the country.
Yeah.
But with Nike supporting Oregon and all the color uniforms they have, I think the committee will like that as a West Coast representative. That's just an opinion.
In fact, the guy just walked by here with an Oregon jersey on.
Let me ask one question to Max. Say this is hypothetical now. If Alabama with Mac Jones beats Auburn by 14 in Auburn, and Oregon wins out, you think the committee will look at the fact that Alabama beat Auburn in Auburn with its second-string quarterback, and Oregon lost to Auburn at a neutral?
Now, if Oregon loses, but see, remember you're going to have Georgia and LSU too.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if Oregon wins out and Alabama wins out, don't you think because both teams will have played Auburn, Max, and if Alabama can beat Auburn by 2 touchdowns in Auburn, doesn't that make a pretty good case to pick Alabama over Oregon?
I think it does. Bill, but I just don't think they'll take 2 teams from the SEC.
Yeah. I think Alabama's lost with Tua going out. Alabama's lost their appeal.
Here's the scenario or the analogy to Alabama losing Tua. In 2014, the first year of the playoffs, Ohio State didn't lose just their starting quarterback; they lost their second-string quarterback. Remember?
Yeah.
And they went to a guy named Cardale Jones.
Yeah, I remember him.
He got hurt in the last of the season. They put in Cardale Jones in the Big Ten championship game, and he promptly lit it up, and they blew out Wisconsin, went on, got in the playoffs, and won the national championship with a third-string quarterback. So Alabama's hoping that the same scenario that happened to Ohio State happens to them, which I don't know what.
Well, that would be a storybook finish if this young quarterback could do that, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt, guys. But you got to remember, Alabama's got Georgia and LSU right there.
Yeah.
That's going to be ranked ahead of them.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't think. I think LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, they're going to take care of business.
I think they go in undefeated. They go in undefeated, and Alabama lost to them.
Yeah.
So I think the scenario is not going to be what. I don't think Alabama controls their destiny anymore.
I could see
a lot of things got to happen.
I didn't think I'd do it, but I think I'm going to be rooting for LSU to win the national championship over Ohio State, over Clemson, and over Utah.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's that's a great, I think that's a great position that they find themselves in. But I still think the committee's going to look. Oregon's got to lose to Utah, but he's not to make it right now.
I would tell you, I'll put it this way: if LSU's number one and they play Oregon in the first round, LSU's going to beat the slop out of Oregon. You go ahead and put them in there. So, I mean, you can put them in there. Now, if Alabama and LSU played in the rematch, I don't think LSU's going to beat the slop out of Alabama.
I hate to say this, Rice. I hate to say it. I think Alabama's out of the picture. Tua did that when he got hurt. I think they're out of the. They just have no. Think about it. They have no demand now. You know.
Well, y'all just keep talking about demand and politics, but
yeah, I think politics still is involved in it.
But
I do, but guys, you can't overlook the fact is that Mac Jones in a quarter, in a half, and 2 minutes did score for 3 points against Mississippi State.
Well, I watched that game, and Alabama was. They were playing. He was playing with scrubs, Mac. They were just trying to get out of the game. He did go 10 for 12 for 90 yards, so it wasn't like he looked terrible. He was completing nice passes to those receivers.
I mean,
everybody listen. Let's see how Mac Jones does Saturday, and let's see how he does against Auburn. He might surprise us like Cardale Jones did at Ohio State.
Does Alabama have a prayer? We'll have to see, ladies and gentlemen. Max, but again, I think you better keep your eye on Oklahoma and Hurt. I've been hurt. Hey, that right there would be a lot of people would love to see Hurt in that Final Four. What do you think?
No doubt about that. Remember, they lost to Kansas State. You know who Kansas State lost to this weekend? Neil Brown.
Yeah, it sure did. But now Kansas State, it could be worse. It could be Kansas.
Y'all keep saying that Oklahoma lost to Kansas State. Well, rightfully, that's a terrible loss. Well, Oregon's going to end up, if Alabama beats Auburn, you can say about Oregon, well, they lost to Auburn, and Auburn will have 4 losses. How can you say that a team that lost to Auburn is one of the best teams?
That's right.
Auburn's already lost 3, guys. I mean, that ain't no big, on the big scale of things, that ain't a big deal with Auburn losing 3 ball games already.
But if Alabama beats them, when you get to the actual decision-making day, they will have lost 4 if Alabama beats them.
Right.
Again, right. Alabama is, in my opinion,
my point is Alabama doesn't gain anything by beating Auburn.
They sure don't.
Well, they could prove that they could beat Auburn while Oregon could not beat Auburn. That's pretty strong.
The only
I agree with that. But the fact is, they don't look at the whole body of work. Basically, they look at how they're playing toward the end of the season.
All right, now you know who can mess all this up? Is Georgia. If Georgia beat LSU.
If Georgia wins out, Alabama has no route to the playoffs. So there's 2 things that got to happen for Alabama to have a chance. Georgia's got to lose, and Alabama's got to beat Auburn.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed watching our show today or listening to our show today or across the world and across the nation on Facebook. And we appreciate you very much. And Max Howell, as always, appreciate you, my good friend. And hope you have a nice week. And we'll see you next week, bright and early.
I'll be here on Thanksgiving Eve, Mike.
All right, brother. Looking forward to it.
All right. See you, Max.
Take care.
See you guys.
Have a great day. We'll work it around it.
Ford Truck Month is going on now at Bill Jackson Ford, and folks, we have the deal for you. Take up to $6,000 off MSRP and get 0% APR for 72 months for huge savings on a new 2019 Ford F-150. Select new 2019 Ford Mustang starting at an incredibly low $23,900, or drive home a select new 2019 Ford Escape starting at just $18,900. Bill Jackson is the name you've trusted for over 30 years. Check us out on Highway 231 in Troy or online at BillJacksonFord.com.
I've been working for this my whole life. The chance to relax on the open water. With my financial institution, Max, my Achieve checking account earns dividends. So I'm free to do what I love.